Good evening. It is Two Wolves. Okay, I'm getting tired of being prophetic. It's happened. Fire in Ketchum. Okay, now let me first tell you what happened. This is an article from www.mtexpress, mountainexpress.com. God bless them, they don't seem to have a problem with my sharing their stories about fire. This story came out on Wednesday. And I had been intending to do the story in full. I'm not going to do it in full because we now have a local emergency. I am now in the middle of an area with a local emergency. Okay, so, but this is an important story. This by KATHERINE WUTZ, awesome writer, Express staff writer. Leaders remember 20 days of smoke, fear, and support. This is in the hearts of locals and many Idahoans as though it happened yesterday. After 5 years recalling Castle Rock fire. Now watch this. Here's a picture. These are houses in a subdivision in Warm Springs area outside Ketchum. Castle Rock, a period of 20 days in August and September 2007, when a fire burned the back of Bald Mountain. This is the big signature resort mountain for Sun Valley. When snowmaking guns were turned into firefighting apparatuses. And oddly, I just was looking at those yesterday and thinking, I wonder if you could fight fire with those. Well, they did. When the Idaho Mountain Express went from semi-weekly to daily, and when the annual Wagon Days celebration was canceled due to the encroaching flames. Flames creeping closer to homes in Greenhorn Gulch, south of Ketchum. Pay attention to this. Greenhorn Gulch, south of Ketchum, on August 28, 2007. And I've got photos. I don't have them up tonight, but I've taken pictures. You can see where the fire burned to within 2 blocks of the Warm Springs Lodge and within about 1 house length of an entire subdivision. Ketchum Fire Department Chief Mike Isle said the flames got within 8 feet of some houses, but none were lost to fire. It was a huge miracle, but much of Ketchum was evacuated for a very long time. The Castle Rock fire started nearly 5 years ago on Thursday, August 16th, 2007, when lightning struck a single tree on a hillside near Castle Rock, a rock formation 15 miles northwest of Ketchum. Stopping the fire early proved impossible, as resources across the state were stretched to cross the number of fires, exactly like this year. The fire took off before it could be corralled that night, leaving the Type 3 firefighting team ordered for the area that Friday with a challenging situation. Okay, please go and read Katherine's excellent story. This is part 1. Now, this came out Wednesday, 2 days ago. It's a 5-year anniversary of Castle Rock. Next week would have been article part 2. Okay, could it happen again? Now, okay, you probably haven't heard about this yet. It's almost beyond belief. Today, I was in Ketchum this morning. This is looking north. Now we know that the Stanley Fire is continuing to explode. The Halstead, massive evacuations. This thing and Trinity Ridge is just horrible. It's just horrific. It's horrific what's happening in Idaho. But that's a separate webcast. Okay, normally you would be able to see the mountains with 20/20 vision. This is downtown Ketchum, and it's looking right up Main Street this morning about noon. Okay, this is Bald Mountain. This is the same Bald Mountain I just talked about. Oh, okay. Whoop. We don't want to see my Skype tonight. Okay, I'll have to talk to her later. I was in Ketchum crossing the street, looking down the street and thinking, holy goodness, what is causing all this smoke? I just had a gut feeling something was wrong, but I hadn't had a chance to check into things yet or really talk to anyone. As I'm walking down the street, or standing to cross, 3 DNR BLM fire truck vehicles came through. Name on the vehicles, BONNEVILLE HOTSHOTS. And this is the BONNEVILLE HOTSHOTS. These are their vehicles, okay? And they're based out of Utah. Massive Heroes Hotshots. Okay, there's a fine looking fellow. Okay, this is the Bonneville Hotshots out of Utah. Well, I saw 3 of their rigs come down the road. I thought they were probably on their way up to Stanley. But it was interesting because I got a look at some of their faces, and mind you, they're probably exhausted, but these fellows looked really grim. And I thought, holy, what is up? 5 minutes later, I found out what is up. Okay? What is up is a horrible, horrible deja vu. It's happening again. On the anniversary, excuse me, on the anniversary of the Castle Rock fire, exactly on the anniversary of the Castle Rock fire, about 10 o'clock last night, this broke out. And this is unbelievable because what this is called the enclosure fire, that's kind of ironic. I think it's going to, we're all worried about it. Maybe a very ironic name historically in the end. The enclosure fire, again by Katherine Wutz, www.mountainexpress.com, and you can go to mountainexpress.com and watch updates of this story. She updated at 4:03. This fire started about 10 o'clock last night, very, very close to where the Castle Rock fire started. Okay, Ketchum Fire Chief Mike L. said this afternoon the local fire departments are continuing structure protection out Deer Creek, Greenhorn Gulch, and Warm Springs. Exactly the same place. Exactly 5 years later. As of 2:59 p.m., the Forest Service press releases still indicated the fire was 10% contained. But earlier in the day, I don't have that article up right now, but I'm just going to read to you for a minute. This was a press release at noon by Katherine. Fires burning in grass and sage. Already air tankers have been on it. Okay, it says, I don't have this up. I'm just going to read it to you. And you can find it at Idaho Mountain Express. It's backlog in the story about noon by Katherine Wutz. Thomas, a spokesman, Sawtooth National Forest spokeswoman Julie Thomas, quote, containment estimates could contain if the weather changes, and residents in Deer Creek and Greenhorn Gulch areas should be aware of the fire and clear their properties of brush and flammable equipment. Now, the word was in town this afternoon that it would probably be all right as long as the wind didn't blow from the north and the south. Excuse me, the north and the west, or the northwest. About noon, the wind kicked up and began to blow from the northwest. Okay, earlier in the day, the fire was 20% contained. Here's Ketchum. This is the Warm Springs area. Haley's down here. This is where Mayan lives, Haley. This is Warm Springs, right here. Warm Springs Creek, Warm Springs Road. This is where, right about here is where they stopped the fire 5 years ago. This is where the fire is burning now. The red flame indicates the location of the enclosure fire southwest of Ketchum. Illustration by Kristen Kaiser. I hope you don't mind my using this, Kristen. Illustration by Kristen Kaiser. Okay. Elle said the fire is still, this is not much, folks, 2.5 miles away from any private land and likely 5 miles from any residences. Still, 20 volunteers, 5 engines, and a support vehicle are spread throughout the 3 drainages, educating residents and setting up for potential structure protection. We're doing mostly public information and education, Elle said. Here, the helibase, it's a helitack crew, and their equipment are setting up here. Firefighter, chopper. The helibase for the enclosure fire is located 16 miles from Ketchum, out Warm Springs Road at Placer Creek. Oh, I'm sorry. Photo by Willy Cook. Thank you, Willy. Photo by Willy Cook. So that's out here is where the base is. This is all Bald Mountain. I'm not making this up. It's just unbelievable. The Ketchum Fire Department is continuing to respond to other calls as well. There's some really awful things going on. I don't know what is happening to Idaho. Idaho Mountain Express will be where you should go for updates, as well as to InsaWeb. This is an astounding story, people. I don't know what's going to happen, but the smoke is very, very bad. We'll look at InsaWeb now for a moment. The enclosure fire started last night on Red Warrior Creek Ridge. Oh, InsaWeb, sorry. InsaWeb.org. It's thought to be human caused. Now, this is really weird. Right now, Shoshone, the little wonderful little historical town between Haley and Twin Falls, Shoshone, there's been lots of what are human-caused fires springing up around Shoshone in the last 24 hours. I don't know what's causing them, whether it's tractor equipment, what it is. But they get them out, and then another one springs up. Also, right now, some of that dry lightning out of the southwest is starting to move through. Okay, so anyway, again, thought to be human-caused. Estimated containment is August 18th, tomorrow at 8 p.m. It's smoldering and creeping in areas of timber, mostly burning in grass. Excuse me. Additional resources are en route to assist. They are saying the fire has not exceeded 250 acres, but I have already talked to the wife of a public official tonight and another local couple who are aware that the fire is in another gulch. That is what people believe. It may have spotted. It's probably spotting. It's probably a new fire, but it looks like there's fire in another gulch. I am concerned they might lose this fire if anything happens weather-wise. Wind conditions 20 miles an hour right this evening. Okay. And I'm going to tell you something else. And I hate to say this, but about 6 p.m. I was on a break, and this particular day I happened to be working in the Ketchum area, and I didn't have time to go out and get a good look. I didn't get to go to Baldy or out Warm Springs, but I will tell you, I looked up one of the adjacent gulches close to Bald Mountain, and I saw billowing yellow smoke. And I said to myself, oh, holy crud, that fire's getting in the canyons. The local couple saw the same thing this evening on their way to Bellevue, and they concurred. So I think that, what did I say at the beginning of the summer, that Two Wolves would probably have a story about a local fire? I really hope I didn't speak that into being. I wanted to take you to another InsaWeb page. Whoops. Before I close, because there's a map. But I need to get off in just a minute, so I don't know if we can get there. Okay. Oh, there you go. There's the map. InsaWeb, nwcg.gov. Enclosure fire area closure. This is a huge closure area, Sawtooth National Forest, Ketchum Ranger District. Here's Ketchum. This is the fire closure area. Okay. Let's go back to that really quick. Okay, that's the fire closure area. This is an enormous area. And Bald Mountain's right about in the middle. I'm not going to say anything more for now. I will be in touch. Go to InsaWeb. Go online to the Idaho Mountain Express. Very strange days, folks. Ooh.